Welcome back, everyone. This is Dave from Corman Productions, here to talk about Star Trek Picard, Season 2, Episode 1, titled The Stargazer. The episode's description reads as follows. Starfleet must once again call on legendary Jean-Luc Picard after members of his former crew, Rios, 7 of 9, Raffi, and Dr. Agnes Jurati discover an anomaly in space that threatens the galaxy. I mean, when isn't something threatening the galaxy in Star Trek? Pretty much never. The episode was directed by Douglas Aronofsky. I have no idea if I'm pronouncing that name right, but he's directed 5 episodes of this series and 4 episodes of Star Trek Discovery. Before going any further, I will tell you a couple of things. 1, this is not a spoiler-free video, so if you haven't watched the episode, please go and check it out and then watch my video. Secondly, if you like this video and want to support the channel, please like, share, and comment, as well as subscribing to my channel. This is going to be a shorter video than the norm. I'm not doing a scene-by-scene type of deal with this. I'm just doing a quick review. I may or may not continue to review this series in this fashion. I don't quite know because I do have plenty on my plate as it stands. But I did a video on last year's season premiere, so I felt like doing one on this one. Last season was a pretty uneven season. There was some good stuff, and then there was also plenty of bad stuff. For instance, bringing in legacy characters like Icheb, recasting them, and then killing them in brutal fashion. Or giving Q, former Borg drone, a completely pointless death. And my favorite was killing off Picard and turning him into an android, which is a very ill-conceived idea. It just seemed like they were opening up a can of worms that the creators had absolutely no interest in dealing with. It brought up a ton of questions that, once again, the writers had absolutely no interest in dealing with. And judging by the season premiere, it seems like I was correct. For starters, is this still really Picard? Or is it just a robot that thinks he's Picard, and the real Picard is dead? Outside of a few references here and there, this issue is not really dealt with, and it's probably pretty clear that they're not going to deal with it throughout Season 2. Hey, I don't want to be asking these questions either, but you laid your bed, and now you gotta deal with it. But of course, you're not going to. That's more of a Season 1 problem than a problem with this episode, which was very good. It was a very good episode that I think bodes well for the rest of the season. If you're a Star Trek fan, and unless you've been living under a rock, you were fully aware that this season was going to bring back the character of Q, played by John Delancey, and Guinan, played by Whoopi Goldberg, though it's unclear if we're going to see her beyond the one episode that we saw her in. On the forums and the Facebook pages, I kept seeing the same question over and over again. How are they going to explain Q, the ageless being, the immortal, looking older, more like the current day John Delancey? And of course, he can appear in any form that he so chooses to. The human guise that he appears to Picard as is not the real Q. I started getting kind of annoyed seeing this question over and over again. You either accept Q, played by John Delancey, looking older, or you don't. You're either happy to have the character back because this is the only way to really do it, or you're not. And some aren't, and I get that. That's fine. Others never really liked the character in the first place. That's also a valid feeling. At the tail end of the premiere, they have Q finally show up, and initially, they have him CGI'd to look much younger, before saying, "Oh, you've gotten much older. Let me catch up," and snapping his fingers and appearing in his older form. To me, they didn't really need to do that. They could have just had one line, "Hey, I figured it'd be more comforting if I showed up as my looking older." I'm glad they didn't stick with the CGI version of Q, because it looked a little creepy. I'm glad we didn't spend too much time with that. So for me, it was handled just fine and dandy. And I highly enjoyed seeing Picard and Q together again. They still have the old chemistry. Patrick Stewart had said in interviews that Picard was going to have a romance in Season 2. Of a sorts. And for the life of me, I never saw it coming that this romance was going to be with Laris, who we saw in the first season. It's a ship I never knew I wanted until now. For the time being, it seems like things are not going very well. But they have Laris as a regular character, so presumably she will be in more than just the couple of episodes that she was in last season. The first half of the episode seems to be setting up Picard's Season-Long Arc, dealing with the fact that he chose to remain alone, always in the stars, putting everything else to the side in exchange for duty. But why did he do that? This episode heavily hints at the possibility that it was because he was running from his past with an abusive father and possibly something terrible happening to his mother, which mirrors Patrick Stewart's own life story. He's said in interviews that he lived in an abusive home, so now it seems that he's making that part of the Jean-Luc Picard character and why he was as he was, which was an emotionally shut-off human being, a very distant figure. In between that, we have a mysterious anomaly appearing in space, which as soon as I saw it green, I was like, this has something to do with the Borg. But nobody else seemed to realize that in the episode itself. We have all the old characters from Season 1 gradually reuniting in the spot of the anomaly. Rios is now captain of the Stargazer, which is named after the original Stargazer piloted by Jean-Luc Picard before he took over the Enterprise. Girardi is with Soji on some planet and ends up beaming aboard because of a problem that they're having. Rios wants to have her look at the transmission they're getting from the anomaly. Soji is only in the episode for one scene, but odds are we'll be seeing her more as the season progresses. Seven, meanwhile, is still with the Fairness Rangers piloting Rios' former ship, and she too is at the anomaly. Translating the message, Girardi discovers that the message says, "Help us, Picard," which is how Picard ends up in the main story. Apparently, whoever is in the anomaly is specifically asked to join the Federation and will only talk to Picard. Picard is soon reunited with his old crew, and that's where things start going wrong. It is soon discovered that the Borg are the ones behind the anomaly. Hey, I could have told you guys that a long time ago, but whatever. Once we discover that the Borg are the ones behind everything, we have a ready room scene in which 2 out of the 3 characters' point of views make sense. Girardi, who's arguing in favor of exploring this, makes sense. 7 of 9 being very much against doing this and just wanting to blow the Borg up also makes sense. Picard's attitude here is inexplicable for the character. We made a very big point of bringing up the fact that Picard was still very much traumatized by his experiences with the Borg, having been assimilated by them. And I don't think the episode in which that is made very clear fully put that behind him. Sure, he got over his former prejudice against the Borg that had been unassimilated from the Borg, the former Borg drones, if he had any. But no, I don't think he's completely healed from his time with the Borg. I don't see how he would be fully on board with exploring this. I think he would be more like 7. Blow it up. This attitude makes sense for Picard in every other situation with any other species except this one. I don't know. Maybe he just had a system corruption of that data when they transferred it over to his new android body. Maybe this isn't the same Picard. Only they're not going to address that question ever. The Borg want to send the Queen over to the ship, and Rios very much vehemently disagrees with this, so he does everything he can to prevent it. Only it's not enough. We have a very different Borg Queen brought over to the ship, and it starts trying to get power and assimilating the ship and making every other ship that's in the fleet that has now joined the Stargazer also become part of the corruption that the Queen is creating. And this scene is very tense and very good. Had some great acting. I love 7 of 9 in this scene, continuing to argue that they should just blow the thing up before the Borg Queen fully assimilates the ship. Picard starts the auto-destruct sequence. The Borg Queen addresses Picard directly, telling him to look up, and boom! There goes the Stargazer. Picard wakes up, he's back at the vineyard, but it's not the vineyard, he knows. There's some changes. Laris is nowhere to be seen. Picard has now some kind of android that takes care of the vineyard, and it looks like one of those androids from last season that were responsible for the attack on Mars. Oh, wait, it wasn't really them, but anyway, we're not going to get into that. Picard is shaken and doesn't know what's going on, and that's when Q shows up, and we finish off with an excellent scene between the two. This was a very good episode to start the season. A very strong episode, probably stronger than any of the episodes in Season 1. I have faith that the creators will keep it going forward. This actually feels like a Star Trek episode, more so than last season did, more so than Star Trek Discovery feels like at times. And I generally like that show. I generally take it for what it is, and I took Star Trek Picard for what it is. I accept it on its terms, even if it's not what the show used to be. But I think this is going to be a very fun season. We have the question of what Q is up to exactly. We don't know what was going on with the Borg at the start. Is that possibly something that Q set up? We don't know, but we will find out this season. Anyway, that's all I got for you for this video. If you like this video and want to support the channel, please like, share, and comment on the video, as well as subscribing to my channel. This is Dave from Corman Productions, signing off.